top of the... well, it's afternoon now. My fellow peasants. How you doing, guys? I'm in a new place. I'll do everything, man. We're going to deep dive. I'm going to make my final predictions on what is going to happen in 16. My final theory. I want to know what your guys is. See if we can throw some pretty wild... because I do think 16 is going to be a wild one. I don't know. I'm hoping the story just goes to some nuts levels I'm not even anticipating. Oh, be still my beating heart. I did a poll. Final 16. How do you feel about the game's difficulty? 55% said well balanced. Is out of 450 votes. 27.9%, so almost a third of people saying too easy. Only 0.2% said too hard. And 16.5% are just in it for the story. They don't give a damn. They ain't give a damn. They just want to be taken on a big, crazy, angsty, not Game of Thrones-esque. I'm so tired of the Game of Thrones references. I'm so tired of it. Yeah, they're just in it for the story. I wish there was an Asian difficulty mode. I'm going to assume you meant ASEAN. Asian difficulty. If you're white, you're pretty much fucked. I'm just going to make my final speculations. So, I mean, besides obviously being very biblical and Old Testament and Crusade-ish, the Gnostic stuff and all these cosmogony weaves are going to be circulating in the backdrop of the story, represented in very obscure, flirtatious ways. I don't think they're going to be too front and center. I don't think it's going to follow things exactly, but because of all that cosmogony, Gnosticism, Sophia stuff, I don't know how many of you in the chat have actually seen that content. But my first big theory prediction is that we're going to be going to the 5 mountains. 5 mountains, and in each mountain we're going to fight an Archon. And an Archon, fallen Archon, is one of these Mother Crystal, or the Mother Crystal. I do think that is an actual thing. I think it is a sentient being. I think the crystals, sort of moving and evolving at the end, as well as Sam Breek's dedication to it. I do think it's going to be a thing. Now whether it's going to be like Eos, well, Eos wasn't even a thing. Well, Eos was more just the world in 15. I think it's going to be more than that, but whether or not we actually see this mother thing, I'm not really sure. But I do think the 5 mountains we're going to be going to, because Sophia imprisoned 5 Archons, rebellious Archons. One of them was Typhon, and we see Clive fighting Typhon. I think that's one of the mountains. And we actually had it dropped in the demo. So I had this theory running, and in the demo it says that there are 5 mountains, core mountains. Ain't a coincidence. And bearing in mind that the Archons are, some of them are based on Greek. The Greek philosopher Celsus is the one who tied in the Gnostic Archons with Greek deities and mythological creatures. Typhon is one. We see the other mountain, Lost Titan. Again, Titans were the cosmogony beings that began the Greek pantheon mythos. So I think like Lost Titan is going to be the second mountain we go to. And that thing is literally a freaking mountain. I think Clive has to dismantle these mountain points as part of the final destruction of the Mother Crystal. So what the other 3 will be, I don't know. Have we seen them? Each of the Drake's parts. Well, what's really cool as well is that we had it confirmed that the Northern Territories had Drake's eye, and then that crystal is gone. So that's 7. That is the 7. Remember, we only knew 6, and I'm going down this Gnostic tunnel saying, well, there has to be 7 for this to fit tightly with my theory, because Sophia created 7 hewn out pillars. And I felt like a bit of a donut saying that because we only had 6, but I was like, there's going to be 7. There's going to be 7. For a minute I was wondering if I was just shoehorning my theory, but I was like, no, Northern Territories, they had to have had a crystal. Had to. The oceans are messed up, Leviathan is missing from the cosmogony artwork, and it got confirmed to us. Drake's eye is missing, which implies a blindness, which is very cool, because what also ties with blindness is the Kenoma. The void in Gnosticism is what brings about worldly blindness to the true reality, of things. So the fact that they have Barnabas going to the bottom of the sea and coming through a void, it implies this like biblical blindness that the whole world was put under after the Adam and Eve, after the fall of man, of which I still think the Cain and Abel story is a thing. It's Drake's balls. No, there can't be Drake's. There is no Drake's nutsack. If that does, that throws the succinctness of my theory. It throws it out. There are no Drake's testes. And that's kind of what my other theory is I wonder if after we've destroyed these crystals, because there's a cool detail in the story that the crystals that we kind of see, they're only sort of the outer manifestations. That actually there's kind of the whole continent is a crystal. Now, this could have been some weird Japanese mistranslations on the website, but they kind of implied that the mother crystal is actually one giant crystal that is the continent itself, and the pillars are like outer parts of it. And what I wonder is, after Clive destroys the 7 crystals, and we see them sort of evolving, coming out, sprouting and shit, is our final boss going to maybe be some giant dragon? I wonder if we're going to fight some giant primordial dragon. And again, this would be very cool because the goddess, again in Gnosticism, she gave birth to Yaldabaoth. In Yaldabaoth, one of his forms is a giant dragon. And weirdly, it's called the Mother Dragon, which we see on the Sambric artwork. My PS5 is about to turn off. We see on the cosmology artwork the goddess, the sword, and it's sparking, and a dragon, which is what Sophia did. She put a spark of divinity in the Mother Dragon's creation, and the Mother Dragon, aka Yaldi, breathed life onto the planet. Now I'm just wondering if, when we see, because we saw like these crystal spines shooting out, we saw this spine, is this like Yaldi dragon thing going to come back into existence? We're going to have to fight it? And I wonder what could happen is, or what could possibly happen. Because I'm going to have a little theory for each icon. I'm just going to skip while it's relevant to what I think is going to happen with Dion. I think he's going to realise that being at the head of the dragon is going to be very significant. It's kind of like Genova's head or something. It's like the most potent part. And the fact that he is a Bahamut, a king of the dragons, what I think is going to happen is he's going to realise the corruption in his nation. Whether it's Barnabas who shows him that, or it's Clive when he shows up to Sambric and has to deal with his treacherous fucking mother. How much do you guys hate him? Annabelle. Honestly, she is getting dragged on the internet. I despise this woman. What a despicable biatch. What I think is going to happen is that eventually Dion will convert. Because we've got to realise what Clive is doing. It seems like genocide. That's how it's going to seem to everyone else. Because humans literally need these crystals to survive. Now you've got some nutty Ifrit mofo going and destroying them. How does that seem to everyone else? That seems genocidal. They don't know about Sid's research into the Black Belt, because it's kind of Sid's idea that if we destroy this crystal we can be free of the Mother Crystal system. No one else knows that. But so I think Dion is going to resist and resist and resist, and then he's going to discover the truth of this thing that in his bio says is darkening his bright shining wings. I think Dion will then flip onto the good side, if there is one in this. I don't really think there is. But then what I think will happen is when this final cosmogony beast, which is a dragon in essence, comes, I think it's going to hijack Dion. I think it's going to take him over because it needs a host, because it's under threat, and it's going to escape. It's going to flee. Now, what do we know up in the sky? There's this red dot, and I've said how that's like probably Ifrit's prison, and how it, in various mythologies represents Iblis and Samael. What I think it is, it's like a galactic HUD for the gods. What I think is it's going to hijack Dion, it's going to leg it off of the planet, and it's going to hide up there. It's going to flee. And that's what I think we saw in the trailer, when we saw Ifrit shooting through space up towards the thing. And what we saw was almost like for like to Dion's, his Bahamut flare. That's what we saw. And I think that Dion has been hijacked by the Yaldi cosmogony bad thing. That is also part of what I think Robed Hooded Guy hates. I think Robed Hooded Guy got fucked over by that being. In the same way that Clive has just seen his brother, Phoenix, get ripped up. I think that energy of, I'll kill you. I'll fucking kill you. Like, I reckon that's the same revenge energy that Robed Hooded Guy had. I think Robed Hooded Guy could have a very good reason. Like, when they split the fire icon, I reckon it was some dark stuff that Robed Hooded Guy didn't deserve. And yeah, I think he's going to merge with the other Ifrit, because I think that, you know, when we see them fighting, I think there's going to be a reconciliation between Robed Hooded Guy and Clive. They're going to be like Cain and Abel, branded with a dog in the Bible. He's going to shoot into space, and he's going to fight this thing. It's going to seem hopeless. It's going to be way too OP. But then I think Dion, because he got taken over as the host, I think he's going to hijack the being from within in some way. I think that's going to be the significance of Dion's role as Bahamut, King of the Summons. That's why we have 2 drakes on the banner. I think that's how big Dion's role is going to be, that he's going to basically be the salvation. And whether or not Dion survives at the end of that, I don't know. Oh, Joshua had yellow eyes when he's Phoenix, and his view was Phoenix, but Clive's view was outside of the icons, either because he has Blue Mage icon powers, or because his twin brother Ifrit is in the vicinity using powers, which also causes headaches, second-hand yellow vision. Yeah, I feel like that scene is very suggestive. That somebody said that they lip-synced, or they're very good at lip-reading what Robed Hooded Guy said, because the crazy thing about 16 is they've only lip-synced it for English. And they've actually had to tell, like, Japanese audience, sorry guys, like you may want to either just be mindful it's not going to be synced up, or play it on English. That's crazy in a Final Fantasy. That is a sign of the times, that the English translation has taken over way more priority. But also it makes a lot of sense. Japan's aging player base, the lack of PlayStation 5 consoles. I found you at last, or something. That's what he said. Yeah. Or, which implies he's been searching for a while, and it also, I think, implies, because he said, like, not again or something. Clive's been having these headaches for a while. I still tie it with the demonology thing. I still think there's room for the interpretation that, I don't know, was Torgal there? I need to go and have a look. Was Torgal there? Did Clive jump into Torgal's POV? Because when I saw that, that kind of blew my nips. I don't know if that's true, but it does tie to my second theory, which is on Torgal and Jill. I think Torgal is a bearer. I don't think bearers only have to be human, bearers being magically gifted individuals from birth. I think Torgal is one. There's a reason why Elwyn brought Torgal back from the Northern Territories. I reckon he's a Bork who has similar, not the same, but similar powers to Clive in terms of, I think Torgal is an ether conduit. I think he's a little Bork that can actually store, retain, and in a little way use ether. I don't think he's going to die. I think what's going to be even more sincere with Torgal's arc is he's going to save Jill. And I think he's going to save Jill because I do believe we're going to see some of the icons turn to stone. There is a reason they've set up the petrification aspect. We see Jill and Clive, and I don't know if Sid was there, but they see like a stoned Rama. A stoned wizard. Wizard's always stoned, but actual stoned. And they've set that up for a reason. We're going to see somebody petrifying this. Now, do you believe that's going to be the case, guys? And if so, who do you think it's going to be? I personally think it is foreshadowing, going to the stony Rama. I think that they're going to be depleting through this never-ending battles. I think Sid is going to be on his last legs. We've already started seeing his arm petrified. And I think old good Uncle Sid, he's going to be stuck in a situation where he knows if he icons out one more time, he's done for. And I think he's going to do it. And I think the weight of that loss is what is going to set up the next two people I think are possible candidates. Now I think Benedicta is a possible one who could get stoned. Or I think Benedicta could possibly go down the second route, which is just completely losing her sanity. So obviously Barnabas, he's a chaos boy. We've heard him before that when they become their full icon forms, it's like the best version of the icons. I mean, Benedicta is his little side piece that he's obviously manipulating and influencing. And I think we've already seen how crazy Garuda is. How much Benedicta has started giving in to her Garuda form. I think she could actually get completely lost. The Benedicta part of her could disappear. It's going to be powerful. She's going to be full-blown Garuda. I think that's what, when we hear Hugo in the trailer shouting, "You said I was going to be king of the world." I think my theory is he's saying that to either Benedicta's statue or when she's just going nuts. He's actually kind of mourning in that moment. I think he does have an emotional attachment, and I think that Hugo is going to then try to revenge arc on Barnabas, and I don't know if Barnabas is going to kill Hugo. Possibly. I know this would be too many icons dying. Do you think any of them are going to die, guys? I think the reason why Sid turning to stone after the final use of his power will be significant is because my other theory is that Jill will come close. We've heard in the trailer she said, "I don't want to become a monster," implying she recognizes this impending doom that all of the icons, the dominants, have placed on them. There's a timer. And I reckon that she's going to be on the edge of depleting. And I think that Clive is going to fire out in some big significant way. We saw it in the trailer where he fires out and there's like this very cool dark shot of like Jill just sort of sat there like silhouetted. And I think at some point she's going to use what looks like the last remnants of her power to try to literally cool Clive off. Clive will road-hooded guy. The significance of fire and ice is going to be poignant. And then she's about to be petrifying, or she will petrify. I think she'll be close. I reckon we're going to be, shit, we're losing Shiva, just like we lost Sid, we're losing Jill. She's about to. And that's when I think Torgal, because he is an ether power bank, if you will, I reckon little Torgal is going to give in some way some ether like stores, and that's going to stop Jill from dying, essentially. Torgal going to save Jill. That's my other theory. Hit me now, quote me later. Unless, of course, I'm wrong, in which case, don't quote me. And I never said any of this. My other theories is just, robed, hooded guy. I do believe that he is based thematically on being a son of a mother crystal. Son of a mother crystal. He will merge back with Clive. I think part of that is going to release Joshua's captivity. I think the powers of life and death, I said it for a long time, they're going to be going to Clive. And I kept saying that in my theories. What will Clive do when he has the powers over life and death? And just to hear Clive then say that to Joshua in the demo when they're sat there, my little brother, the powers over life and death. That was significant. That's significant for a reason. And yeah, I think that after Clive destroys the big final cosmogony thing, we're just going to see a classic kind of what has Clive learned. It's going to be demonstrated to us in some big crazy final moment. Has Clive's respect and admiration for life, what he's been through on this journey, the people he's seen, the nations he's been to, the things he's seen firsthand. Has his respect for those things become stronger than his will for revenge? And I think that that moment is going to be somewhat determined when he discovers what it is that Annabelle has done. Because she can't hide forever, man. Clive is definitely going to come across her. He's going to see her on the throne. I reckon he's going to think she's been dead this whole time. And then he's going to realise it was her. It was her who let the traitors in to Phoenix's gate. And he's going to want to kill her. And I think that as he goes to kill her, I think the little girl, his half-sister, I think she's going to run in. And Clive's going to have that moment of nearly killing a kid. That is still theory number 5. Clive gonna almost kill a kid. The other final one was Barnabas. I do believe that he was kind of there at the cosmogony point. I do think some sort of time thing has happened with him. Again, the void. I think the void allows individuals to go into metaphysical states, and that perhaps Barnabas has been either residing one or travelled through one, and he came back from a much further back point in history. I think we're going to discover that about Barney Boy, because he has all of this secret knowledge. He knows about the prophecies, he does believe that he is the Messiah. Like I said, I think that he is the Moses in the story, the one who wants to liberate, but he's actually just more of a tool for God. And upon realizing, just like Moses did in the Bible, that he was being used the whole time, he has this real like bugged out moment where he's like, I did everything you wanted me to, and I did everything that the prophecy said to do, and yet I'm not seeing the reconciliation. Moses had that on his knees pure anger moment. And then I think that's also really backed up by the fact that in Gnosticism, in the Canoma, that's where secret knowledge is, but that the secret knowledge is often being muddled with by the demiurge. I think that Barnabas is under this false knowledge, and I think he came further back in the story, and that's also kind of not fully backed up. I think he could potentially even be the guy who wrote the book, because we do have the book and we see one author is Joshua. So when Joshua is in a metaphysical state, it seems like Joshua actually writes some stuff. But we also saw that one of them was the prophecy of, was it Mose? Like the demo opened on it, the prophecy of Mose, or Maze, or Moses. Either way, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was more or less exactly or close to being like Moses. I think maybe Barnabas wrote that. I think maybe he was there 1500 years ago. I want to say, Benedicta's banging a plus 1500-year-old dude. Moss, that was it, the prophecy of Moss. I think that could be one of Barnabas's personas. Moss the Chronicler. Barnabas mentions in the trailer that he seeks to unite dominants. Could his plans change when he learns Clive is a wild card that can harbour all and intentionally let him to fulfill a plan? Well, that's kind of what Moses, after Abraham, had to do with Joshua. Moses had to kind of hand off the unification of the warring tribes onto Joshua, realizing that it wasn't actually his destiny. So that really fits that maybe eventually Barnabas, being a blade of retribution, he came out the seed landless, titleless. He just showed up on this world. And he just single-handedly, with his own sword, took an entire section of the globe, or continent. That's a cool thing. We've actually discovered that Valisthea is actually just one continent of many. It means that when this makes a shitload of money and earns Game of the Year, they can do like a Horizon Forbidden West thing. Just like Valisthea, sneaky east. We got onto a new continent. I actually don't think we will. It seems like Yoshi P and Ella are kind of considering potential other content. That'll be down the line after my piecing start. Do you think the Mother Crystal is manufactured the blight, or if there's any significance to it? Sid's hideout is made by fallen ruins, and people don't get affected by it. Well, this is where, early days, I kind of wondered if the Mother Crystal system was evil, like it was intentionally kind of doing what Final Fantasy XIV does. We had Sophia in Final Fantasy XIV, and she gives ether to her cultist followers so that she has their adoration and their praise, and she gains power from it. And I was like, oh, they're definitely going to be like ghosting that theme here. The Mother Crystal just is inherently like narcissistic and rotten, and we're going to fight some like female manifestation at the end. That'll be the final boss. But it was really the Gnosticism that converted that, because Sophia, she had no ill intent. She was just a mother who was exceptionally overbearing, but she was also kind of disgusted by her creations. She was disgusted by her creations. And she wasn't inherently like that evil. She kind of was and wasn't. She basically fell. She fell into ruination. That's what created the void. That's what created the demiurge. That's what's created worldly suffering. The Gnostics say we're not supposed to be here. This is a prison. But she instilled a secret back door on how to get out of it all. And I think that Clive is that back door. I think that super makes sense when in Gnosticism, Sophia gifted one agent, Sabaoth, with the power to basically have control over all the other agents of chaos. Which I think is what she did. Instead of gifting Clive with the Phoenix like he was supposed to, he got gifted with basically this ability to more or less blue mage all of the icons. And for that reason, that's why I don't think the Mother Crystal system itself is going to be some evil thing. I think it's following more that kind of vein. In Moses' story, there was a demon that messed with the Pharaoh to refuse Moses' plea. The said demon is known as the One-Winged Angel and son of Yaldabaoth. Oh, yeah, this demon figure, yeah, it's going to show up. And I do think that's kind of cool you say it's in the Moses' story, because I do think that Barnabas is cosmochronologically like situated like further back, and I think he knows what this big evil is in the game. Again, red dot up in the sky, Iron Kingdom suppressing it, an Ifrit, an Iblis, Samael, the fallen angel, the one who tempted Adam, or tempted Eve, and then banged her, and then had twins. That's why I've got the theory Clive is related to Road to the Guy, spiritually, not physically, spiritually. That's kind of interesting that Moses had to go against a kind of demon, because what we do know is that when the Ifrit emerges, Barnabas is on it. He sends Benedicta hunting it down, and it comes across Clive. But obviously I think Barnabas' main enemy is the big evil, and Clive's going to get mistaken for this a lot. Which, you know that Square Enix had this idea when they were going to turn Ifrit into Diablos. But they went a different route. And again, I think it's because they didn't want to... I don't think they wanted to destroy Clive's humanity, or the ability for us as players to see his redemption, if they went too dark with Clive, and that's why they made Road to the Guy. Icon DLC, probably. Moogle Dominant. I'm ready for it. Give it to me. Do you think Barnabas' horse is part of the Odin icon stuff, or is it a separate icon altogether? See, that's the thing. I think we need to remember that Clive got gifted the power of the Phoenix. So that was like a natural thing. Like before Clive had this like crazy ability to absorb all the icons, he was gifted part of this power. So we have to assume that other icons can do the same. I think it's very likely that Barnabas obviously gifted the Lord Commander some of that power, and then he's mounting him into battle. Which is very homoerotic when you think of it. You, sir, shall be my steed. I shall ride you into battle. I think he's Sleipnir. I like that idea. I like that theory. That's the core themes that I think is going to happen. I think we're going to lose at least 2 icons to petrification. I think Sid will be a definite. I think Jill will be a potential, but saved by Torgal. I think we're going to have a few of them completely lose their humanity. Benedicta first. Hugo, because he actually did harbour affection for her, kind of following second. I think Dion, yep, he's going to be cosmogonied. When the final evil after the crystal is destroyed, he's going to go into space if he's going to fight him. Dion is going to sabotage from within. Clive will almost kill Annabelle, but I think he'll have learned a lot by then. I don't think Clive will do it. But then there's actually a side of me that hopes Clive does do it. Because my immediate is, because that's the thing, I don't want Clive to necessarily be a perfect, I don't want to be a perfect character, but not even necessarily good. I know that Ben Starr said his humanity is strong, but I do really want to see Clive fuck up really hard. I kind of want him to go through, when that moment where he's about to decapitate Annabelle, I'm just like, I'll be like, go through with it. I'll be cheering him on. I'll be like, go on, bloody do it. And then I hope that what happens is he kills Annabelle, and that little girl, who I do wholeheartedly believe is his half-sister, Annabelle's blood splatters up her face. And in that moment, if she is actually, because they say she is the one true deity reincarnate, What if she then like bugs out, and that's why you saw the crystal sprouting and stuff? Because she gets traumatized and it awakens something. Oh, that'd be powerful. But if that doesn't happen, if she isn't actually harboring any kind of secret, the one true deity thing isn't actually that literal, even just that moment where Clive just witnesses what his revenge did. That his revenge did put this little child in the exact same place that Joshua was put in. That moment of realization of what revenge does. I really want that sort of pacifist awakening moment in Clive, because he's a damn good fighter. Kind of like, have any of you guys seen Vinland Saga? I don't know, I'm not saying that, mate. It's kind of new. I might be spoiling some stuff. Hatred begets hatred. Exactly. That's always such a powerful theme. I don't know whether Clive like goes through with that or he resists it. I think the resistance. The thing is, I feel like whatever robed hooded guy's motives are, at the cosmogony, I think he probably would have been a complete being. I think that just because he rebelled like Samael did, and it was not actually entirely a bad rebellion, like free will was being fucked with, and that's why Samael, who is known as the Poisoner, the Left Hand of God, an agent of free will, just like also Iblis, the Ifrit, they call him the Ifrit, the Jinn of free will. If you see God not respecting free will, you're like, yo, this ain't right, man. The fact that Clive also has this same respect for free will, like on a level, not being subjugated, not being dictated. We're here in the trailer, we'll do things and we're doing them our own way. I reckon that for all the reasons that robed hooded guy got ripped apart, and that he's come back into the story because he's had the opportunity to, and that he just has to, he's not even murdered Phoenix necessarily, has he? He's imprisoned it. But Clive has resonated all the same motives that robed hooded guy did. Betrayal, hatred, revenge arc, and that all the while that Clive is constantly doing the same thing that robed hooded guy, he's attached to him. Clive has to break the cycle. Literally, in terms of the world and the Mother Crystal system, he has to break that cycle. I think that breaking is going to happen emotionally as well, like the cycle of hatred with himself. Because if he can't do that, how's he going to do it for the bigger world? Oh, I can't wait. I hope these are all themes. This is going to get emotive, man. It's going to get tear-jerking. How hard do you guys want to cry? I really want to get to a real ugly snot and boogers running down my face, kind of my voice hyperventilating. I want it to be ugly and a little bit cringe. Make me cringe cry 16. I do also think Leviathan, besides just potentially dying in the cosmogony, I do think Leviathan could also be the Mother Crystal system. Because in Sophia, in Gnosticism, Sophia, when she fell into the material world, she sank beneath the oceans. She crossed over the waters. It was very, when I was reading the Gnostic story, it felt very loveless. The goddess creeps silently across the waters and shit. And yeah, she sunk beneath it, and that's where the void, the Kenoma, emerged, and it separated the firmament, which the firmament we use to describe the difference between land and sea, the firmament. But also there's the metaphysical firmament, the difference between the material world and spiritual world. And Sophia is that one, and that's why she was associated with 4 elements: water, chaos, void, and something else that was similar to chaos or void. That's pretty juicy. There's a Leviathan missing, and the Gnostic story associates her with the elements of water and void. I don't see it as any coincidence. These theories are happening. Series activated. I've got it, guys. This ain't gonna be like 15. That sounds really good and really interesting and intriguing. And then when the actual game comes out, it's much less than that. This ain't it. 100% clean record sheet. And you're gonna go, oh my god, Pez is a fucking wizard. He's an absolute wizard. And then I'll be like, yes, none of them know that I was actually reading the leaks this whole time. There's no way I would read the leaks. Please tell me none of you have seen them. They've started hitting the internet. Square Enix had to put a warning out. Why? If people want to ruin the game for themselves. I perceive it as ruin. That's up to them. If your curiosity is just so strong you have to read those kind of leaks, fine, go for it. I draw a line at when you then go and do it to other people. Can 16 have this kind of emotional energy? I doubt it, but maybe 16 will get close. I couldn't remember if Torgal was there when Dark Ifrit emerged. And yeah, I tweeted it out, guys. He was there. And not just there, they did a cutaway, a moment, where Clive said, Torgal. Oh. He actually said Torgal when we went to the black screen. And then, of course, we had the looking through the eyes, which is, of course, the same yellow hue that we see Joshua's POV from. And I was like, oh, damn, what happened here? Like, I feel like it was there in the back of my mind, but I skipped over it. Able to transfer to Torgal or something. Because some people are saying that Clive is the dark icon, and the battle of the two Ifrits is going to be in the metaphysical. So I don't know if I vibe that. Why Clive didn't get burned alive? Because after you see the big icon, he weren't in Ifrit mode. Because you get a top-down view after that, and Clive weren't there. Which begs the question, how could Clive actually do that? Well, I mean, we do see the dark icon in nothing but fire mode, amorphous flame, which is part of the Islamic law of Ifrits. They don't actually have a physical form. They're actually smoke and fire that can switch into human forms. Some people are like, oh, I think we're overthinking this. We're just getting Torgal's POV like this. I don't think Clive's consciousness is pushing Torgal. He's most likely just viewing the scene from his own angle and can't understand what's going on. The thing is, that doesn't make sense to me why it went to black screen. Clive specifically said Torgal. Anyone who thinks that we're just overthinking this is Final Fantasy, man. This is Final Fantasy. I'm not going to have to overthinking things said to me again. People said that to me about 7 Remake. When Sephiroth had the wing, I was like, the wing must mean something. I'm like, dude, is Sephiroth has a wing? I was like, no, it could mean, because he doesn't get that till later. People shut me down. To the point where I didn't even think that this is a Sephiroth from the future. But yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, I was just saying, the people who say, oh, we're just going from Torgal's POV, you've got to answer the question, where was Clive? How did he not burn? Also, why is Torgal's POV similar to an icon's? The yellowish hue. We're hearing it and seeing it also from what Clive's, I mean, that's what the scene implies, that Clive was looking on at his brother getting mashed. But I really liked what someone pointed out, that Clive has animal instinct as well. It just locates the quest markers in 16, but why call it animal instinct? I don't know, there's something. Any theories on why the mother hates Clive? So my theory for that was simply because she is forced to bear children. I think somebody pointed out that that's written in her bio, that she knew her duty was to have a phoenix son. I think she wanted it done. Like, you know how it is for like medieval women. If they fail to have a kid or they don't deliver, it's basically like that's what they're enslaved to doing. And I reckon after, childbearing's rough, right? I don't know if we've got any mums in the house, but that's some animal kingdom nonsense. And I think after she gave birth to Clive and he wasn't the phoenix, I reckon there was resentment. She felt like she was, it made it even more aware that she was a slave to this duty. And I think she resented that, grew a hatred for that, and projected it onto Clive. Who the story writers are. The main credited one. Mihiro. Let's go, Mihiro. By the way, Pez, it's confirmed Sambury Goddess is Great Gregor. It is. Oh. Right, so Sid in the demo, yeah. Will Great Gregor have some wise words for us? Great Gregor, interesting. What does that mean? Let's have a look. Isn't really showing me much on mythology. Yeah, so let's just go with Gregor. Yeah, let's go with Gregor. I mean, so we've had a lot of Greek. So I could well believe we've got something in the Greek vein here. Yeah, and intertwined with Christianity that has enveloped the Latin Grex meaning flock into its meaning. This is cool. This is very cool. Because guys, I mean, the coolest thing about 16 that I was trying to make a bridge for, besides the theme of Tartarus, a prison, which I think is thematically there, which overlaps into the Gnostic stories and the Christians, and I was talking about the philosophers who weaved Greek into Christian and Gnostic beliefs, and that's why my theory that we're going to 5 mountains. Noticing this weave between when I was looking into this goddess figure in 16, that there's this weird symbiosis of Greek and Christian. So to see potentially Gregor from the Greek Gregorius, and that it does have this, and a favoured title for over 1,500 years. 1,500 fucking years, guys. That's how long. That's when the forebearers fell. In 16. 1,500 years. Intertwined Christianity. We're going down the right veins. That really, really does support all of the kind of amalgamation of stuff. Maybe. Who knows? But also very cool that it's his flock. And obviously, like, in the demo, Benedicta was talking about sheep. And people being sheep. And come to me, little lamb, like to Clive. You feel like maybe Square Enix could have read that? You know, that was in their mind, and they thought, oh, sheep. We'll add this like Benedicta line about sheep and shit. Ooh! Until the next live stream, Minute Jeff!